Hey guys, good morning. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It is 4:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I haven't even shaved yet this morning. I've been busy as usual looking over all sorts of media. I've got three papers I read now every morning. The overnight news. Um, I'm going to talk about flags. I'm going to talk about statues today. I've been wanting to talk about the flag for a while since Trump came up with this proposed legislation, this bull that it's just meant to rally his base about. I don't know if I can say this or not. I'm gonna say it. I might get demonetized. I don't know. But I can't think of any other way to say it other than to say it is the burning the flag issue. All right, let me talk about statues first. Um, Part of me feels as though that we should probably be spending the time looking to form real change in policing. And I don't know, I'm going to be honest, I feel comfortable talking about what I know. I do not feel comfortable talking about things I don't know a lot about, like, say, the Army or police. I know an awful lot about drug addiction, drug use, drug recovery. I think the entire nation would benefit hugely from taking some of this money from the police and putting it more towards treatment for drug addiction. I want to bring up one other thing that I was thinking about. We have a lot of people, a lot of drug dealers out there that don't use themselves, that go to prison, go to jail and everything. And I've seen these people. I've dealt with them for 2.5 decades. And what I saw were a lot of these drug dealers were addicted to the money and the power. They could not stop dealing, just like I couldn't stop using drugs. Uh, all these people would benefit hugely. Society would benefit hugely if there was treatment for all these different issues with drugs, as opposed to just throwing somebody in jail, where they're just going to pick up more bad habits, more knowledge on crime and drugs and everything. And the nation would benefit hugely. Instead of just wasting time locking these people up, arresting them, the court time and everything. That's my thought on that. Now, like I said, there's a lot of focus on all these statues coming down. I see this rhetoric out there with Donald Trump putting National Guards all around, like the Lincoln Memorial. I think this is a little ridiculous. I think in the future, we might want to rethink worshiping, honoring human beings. And if we want to build statues or honor something, it should be what they accomplished, or a memorial to how we overcame something like 9/11, or the first flight at Kitty Hawk. Great moments of human triumph. Human beings are fallible. We sin. We're a mess. We make mistakes. If you look back through history, Washington, Lincoln, Hamilton, Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. I mean, yeah, a lot of them were slave traders, slave owners. I'm a good half Native American. A lot of these presidents advocated the slaughter, the wholesale slaughter of people that were my great 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 grandparents. Human beings do have their pitfalls. So we in the future we might want to rethink honoring or worshiping a human being. How many of these people through history were also wife beaters? How many of them were raging alcoholics and drug addicts? Probably a good portion of them. If it wasn't owning slaves, I'm sure it was something else. We might want to rethink that. Or this is another thought I had this morning. As for the existing statues, Jefferson, Washington, whatever, as opposed to tearing down a monument that we've had for many years, maybe a placard, a footnote under the statue describing their sins and their atrocities too, so that there's a fair historical record of the true nature of this person. If we want to celebrate the great things they did, then it should also be noted. If we're going to memorialize them in a statue, then we should also note their pitfalls. Just a thought. Okay, now I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. Flags, burning the flag. Like I said, there's a good chance, I don't know, I'll probably get demonetized for just saying that. Demonetization, by the way, isn't censorship. It's just advertisers not wanting to be associated with what I'm talking about, and I can understand that. But it's something I've been wanting to talk about, but I've avoided talking about it because I feel rather ambiguous about the subject, to be honest with you guys. Let me tell you what I think. I think flag burning should be allowed, should be legal. It's a form of free speech. Let me tell you guys something else. As for me personally, especially over the last 13 years, I live my life in a positive fashion. Burning, destroying stuff is not part of who I am these days. Another example, here on YouTube, there are a lot of channels that will go out and antagonize police on patrol. They say that they're auditing the police, but some of the videos I've seen, it's fairly young-sounding people behind the camera saying the most antagonizing, disrespectful things to the police. And I understand. Police are not being held in high esteem these days. In one video, I see this. I see one of the camera people, the light being shined on him. And he goes, "Really, bitch, really?" And he's calling the female officer a bitch. And for me, it's disrespectful no matter who that person is. It's not something I would do. It's not something I advocate. It's negative. And personally in my life, I don't practice that anymore. But if it's their prerogative to do it. Okay, as far as burning the flag, it is a form of free speech, I think. I think it's an important part of free speech. It's not something I could or would do myself. It's just not who I am. I totally am in agreement with kneeling for the national anthem. To me, that is an ultimate sign of respect to our democracy and the flag. You're acknowledging the anthem and the flag, but you're saying that it needs work. And there's nothing wrong with saying that you want a better country. That's one of the most patriotic things you can do, is strive to be better. Not just as ourselves, but as our nation, as one of the most respected, most valued things you can do, is try to be better than you were yesterday. And with kneeling, I think that's what it's pointing out. And as usual, Trump and the entire Republican conservative base over there refuse to even acknowledge what the kneeling is even about. He brings it up in his speeches at the rally the other day, talking about disrespecting the flag. And I don't know if I have to assume that he's purposely glossing over the purpose of the whole thing, just to anger, divide, and rile his base. He paints it as being about the flag, about being anti-patriotic, about being anti-American, which it is not. If anything, I've always said Colin Kaepernick is an American hero. He knew that he had the platform to address a bad situation, a terrible, atrocious situation. And he put up everything he had, his fame, his fortune, to do that, to make a better America, to speak up. And that's a hero to me. I've said this through 4 or 5 videos going back into last year. I love the guy. Okay, but the flag burning in particular. I could understand why people would do it. You look at who we have in the Oval Office. Look at what's going on in our Justice Department with Barr getting Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn admitted to lying to Congress, a felony, admitted to a felony. And Donald Trump just said yesterday that he was treated so terribly and he's innocent. He admitted to a felony and he's off scot-free. That's a miscarriage of justice. It's a big FU to our whole system. It's corruption at its worst. And I could exactly see why somebody would burn a flag to say this is, it's like putting the flag upside down. Yeah, that's something I've done before in some of my Facebook posts, that our country is in distress. That's what that means. Just continue waving the flag and saying America number one when you know that there's corruption, that corruption is eating away at our country, that we have a president that is intentionally dividing the people of America and warring them against each other, that is ignoring a national health crisis, just turning a blind eye to it. For a president to advocate to stop testing in the middle of a pandemic, it's criminal. It's just criminal. I could understand why somebody would burn a flag. This is not the America that should be. We're so much better than this. We deserve better than this. It's a valid form of protest to me. Again, like I said, burning a flag to me is, for me personally, I couldn't or wouldn't do it because to me it's a negative act. It's destruction. And I'm about creating and constructive stuff. But I totally advocate, like, I don't know who said it. I might not agree with your opinion, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. Freedom of speech. Just like, for instance, with the Michigan State House and those armed protesters. A lot of us, even though I'm a gun owner, I was disgusted. I was scared to see these people rush the State House, to take over the State House, fully armed, being just bullies, using terrorist tactics to influence their government. But it was a form of free speech. What they were doing was in the bounds of being in the guidelines of being legal. So I have to allow that. I don't agree with it. I don't condone it. It scared me. It angered me. It did a lot of things, but it is freedom of speech. And in that same view, so is burning a flag. You might not agree with it. You might hate it. It might scare you. It might make you angry, but it is a form of free speech. Nobody is taking away for the people that died for this country. It's an effort to make the country better than it was yesterday. It's an effort to say that we expect more from ourselves and our country. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's got to be one of the most patriotic things I can think of, is wanting to better your country. And how do you better your country? By pointing out its pitfalls, its faults, and eliminating them. So I think it's one of the most patriotic things you could do. All right, I'll be back in a little while with some more. I got plenty to talk about today. All right, you guys have a good Thursday.